I'd like to call to order District 721. Janelle, please note that all board members are present except Denny. Let's please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get going on the Spotlight for Success, I would like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Andy Volmuth, our new superintendent, his first meeting. So I don't know if you have any additional words here to say ahead of time.
Yeah, I would just like to say I'm thrilled to be here and thank you again for the opportunity. I'll touch a little bit on this in my update, but there are two things that I took away from the interview process that confirmed for me over the last couple of weeks. Many things, but two in particular are passion and people. There's great passion in this school district for the New Prague area schools, and they're great people. And so I'm looking forward to deepening those relationships with people as we continue to, like I said, in the interview process, build upon that strong tradition and create a promising future for all. So I'll say more later on, but I'm just very grateful, very excited to be here, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Welcome. First off is we got the high school baseball state champs here. So
yeah, it's my pleasure. I'd like to introduce Coach Tanner Oakes, who I met briefly on a tour of the middle school a couple months ago, and I joked with Mr. Dipburner that I was going to take credit for this one, but I still think this is on his register, or his toll. So, Coach, if you want to introduce your players and then just say a few words, and again, congratulations on behalf of the school community.
Yeah, first, thanks for just letting us be here. We appreciate the recognition. Obviously, it was a very fun season. So we got a few guys with us, obviously not the whole squad. We have Tyler Giesen down on that end, Jake Heeman, Jake Lundquist, Jackson Schierick. Then on the side, we got Tanner Nordrum, Kyle Karlberg, James Kavanaugh, and Nick Giesen down at the end. So obviously these guys were able to make it tonight, but again, yeah, it was just an awesome season. I think one of the cool parts was just all the different guys stepping up in different spots and really kind of showing what a true team is, just kind of being ready when your number's called and being able to do the job. So the other cool part was just the community support that we received. You look at the state tournament games, you look at the crowd sections, and it's not even close how many fans there were from New Prague. Just kind of, again, showed all the support from our community, and then obviously just coming back and having people lining up in the streets and for the send-off and all that good stuff definitely made the experience a lot more memorable. So we definitely appreciate all of you guys' support as well. And then I think just a couple of players we're just going to talk briefly too, if that works.
Sounds great.
So yeah, I mean, it was a great season. It's kind of one of those things where you're playing with all these little league guys. So our entire team was pretty much seniors with the addition of a couple of juniors. So I grew up playing baseball with all these kids and since like 10 years old. So it's one of those dreams you kind of have, like, let's go big, win a championship, do something cool, and making that a dream come true is pretty surreal. So love these guys. It was a great team and lasting memories for sure.
Kind of like Lundy just said, we had a lot of senior leadership on this team, and I think that really showed when it came to like the state tournament games. Even though we hadn't really been in a position like that, we kind of, all of us knew each other, and we were more like, it's obviously cliche, but we're more like brothers than a team, and so we kind of just gelled together, and everybody was confident going into the state tournament, and we just kind of, we locked in, just had to win 3 more games, and then we just tried our best to do it as a team. So, yeah, it was really surreal, like Jake said. I mean, I can't even explain the feeling like when you're out on the field, your heart's just running 100 miles a minute, and so it was really amazing to see everybody celebrating together, and even the coaches going nuts, and it was awesome. And we one little thing, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be sharing this, but
Keep on going. You're great. You're great.
we have a rule where you have 10 push-ups if you swear. And so after the state semifinal game, I think there was a little bit more push-ups than we could have possibly done. So we decided to wipe that rule for the state semis game after a few expletives were used. So enjoy and in anger. So yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we do that, I understand a tradition in New Prague is to pass out these. I think the state championship was a big thing, but I know these sunglasses will stay with you forever. So there you go,
Tanner,
on
get
behalf
lined
of the
up a
school
couple lines
district.
and we'll take a quick snapshot.
Go. Thank you.
Suitable for the paper.
Tanner. Yay!
All you tall guys in the back.
Who's my student?
They're also big.
Okay. Eyes up here.
We're low enough where we're.
I'm covered.
Nice job, guys.
All right, next we have Amy Waldsberger from our Special Services Director here to speak a little bit about transition and some of the targeted services that have been occurring this summer.
Okay. This one right here. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Amy Welsberger. I'm the Director of Special Services for the district. I have with me Kim Isley, our Special Education Supervisor, and Kate Kino. She's our Targeted Services and High School Credit Recovery Coordinator for the district. So we do have a number of different summer programs that we run, and we did conclude our programs last week. The 3 programs that we run here is Extended School Year, which is through special education. It's individualized intervention for students on IEPs, and they have to qualify for those services. And then we also have our summer learning labs, and those are kindergarten through 8th grade, and that focuses on key concepts in math, reading, writing, and social emotional learning. Also, we have the high school credit recovery, which is specific to the high school, of course, and that's based on course credit requirements. And this was our schedule that we had this summer. So we started almost right after school got out, and we were ready to roll. So our programs run 5 weeks, Monday through Thursday. High school runs a little bit later. So K through 8 is 8 to 11:30. High school is 8 to 1, and then you can see the following weeks below.
So, as you can see on this slide here, our enrollment this year are in the boxes below. So our birth to 3 ESY would be our students who receive these services in their home by our birth to 3 staff, and these would be special education services. And so we had 22 of those students this summer receive services in their home. Then we had our pre-K ESY, and those would be 6 of those students came in for those services. 52 students participated in summer learning labs out at Eagleview. 75 students participated in summer learning labs from Falcon Ridge and Ravenstream. We had 28 students participate in ESY services at Falcon Ridge. 13 students participated in ESY services from middle school and high school, and that was at our high school building this year. We also had 53 students participate in middle school summer learning labs 141 students at high school credit recovery this summer, and 2 students participated in our transition services for ESY. We also had 104 students in one-to-one tutoring that participated this summer. All total, we had 496 students served this summer in our summer programs. We had 302 students participate in credit recovery. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me, that was 302 credits recovered this summer, sorry. And then we had this summer 11 Help Me Grow referrals. So our Help Me Grow referrals would be students that called into our Help Me Grow line looking for their students under the age of 3 that wanted to look at their students maybe being evaluated for special education services. So our Birth to 3 team was pretty busy this summer.
All right, so we had a lot of awesome staff to make this happen. In total, 74 different teachers stepped up beyond their school year to help us teach these students this summer. Just a couple things to point out. For Birth to 3 and for our ESY, our special education services, we have teachers that work with those students, and then also some paraprofessionals that support the students in the classroom. At Summer Learning Lab, it's a little bit different because of some of the COVID relief funds that we have that now are ending at the end of this summer and next summer. We're able to add in some specialist time for our elementary students. So throughout the week, they see a music teacher, a Phi-Ed teacher, a science teacher, and an art teacher. So each day they have a specialist that they get to go to. In addition to that, at all of our buildings, we have a full-time social worker. That social worker is there to support students that have those needs, but also they go into each of the classrooms and push in for social emotional lessons. At the high school, we have a guidance counselor instead of a social worker. But he is instrumental in just helping to motivate students so they know remind them of what their path is and what other credits they might need to recover if maybe they were able to finish some more quickly than they had anticipated. Just one point about the tutoring. So our one-on-one tutoring is something extra that we had both last summer and this summer. Again, that's thanks in part to one of the ESSER COVID relief grants. And so this summer we had that 100 and some students that received one-on-one tutoring twice a week for 50 minutes for each session. And so 19 teachers, again, that stepped up to do that. So some of the fun things, so the kids don't just do worksheets all day. We really try to make Summer Learning Lab look different than the school year. These are students that struggle in the traditional classroom, and so we do a lot of interactive learning, a lot of math games for those students to practice the skills. One of the things that the middle school does is they incorporate volunteer service for those students each week. And so one of the things that they did again this summer was to walk down to the Peace Garden. The Rotary met us there and gave them kind of an overview of what the Peace Garden is for. And then the students got to help plant and weed and harvest some of the produce that was ready to go. And then this is just some of the fun that students got to do with the science specialists. So learning about bubbles, lots of kind of free thinking, being able to hypothesize and experiment, try some different things out, just in a different way.
Likewise, in our ESY programs, we like to incorporate a lot of different activities into our summer program as well. Typically in our ESY programs, we're just trying to maintain skills during our summer programs. So we try to keep the routines. There's a lot of academics and social routines that we try to keep with the students, but we also try to do some fun exposure during the summer as well. So this is Shelley Thielen. She's our high school, one of our high school special education teachers, and she took these students to the berry farm. It was super fun to see Shelley's vision come through the whole process. So the kids here are picking the berries, as you can see in this slide, and then she brought them back. And they do a nice economy system up in the program, and then the students made, I think it was fruit pizza. with the berries, and then so they got to do the cooking and the buying of the ingredients for the rest of it through budgeting and some different things, and they went shopping, and then they made the pizza and they ate it. So it was a pretty neat lesson to watch them do throughout the week. And then this is some of the arts and crafts that our elementary kids did for ESY, and some of the different things in the science experiments and some of the other tools that they use throughout their week. And so they didn't do a lot of field trips. We don't usually take our younger ESY kiddos out of the building, but they did a lot of fun activities, and the teachers typically will plan together some different things, so they'll do some things together and some things separately. So it was a fun couple weeks they had.
That's what we have. Yeah, any questions about our summer programs?
I have one.
Sure.
You had 141, I think, go through credit recovery. Did they recover all of their credits?
So it totally depends. So some students might have one credit that they need to recover. So if they fail a class that is part of their graduation requirements, then they have to recover it in some manner, whether that be extended day during the school year, summer credit recovery, or within their schedule in a subsequent year. Some students had multiple credits to recover. The other thing that kind of depends. When students fail a class, we do look at how did they fail that class. So if they fail and they have about 25% to 59.999, we've kind of looked at some data that shows that when we look at their detailed report, they've done something. They've attempted the credit. Below that 25% mark, a lot of attendance issues, a lot of missing work. So if those students got to that threshold, they're able to recover it using our standards-based credit recovery. So departments have come up with 5 essential standards for each of those graduation requirements, and then the teachers go through and mark which of those standards students have not mastered yet. So it's definitely a shorter time period. If they get below that 25%, they do need to recover the full course, and so then they obviously have more quantity and time that they need to put in.
Would they be able to recover those credits if they were below the 29 or whatever you said, I'm sorry, during the summer, or is that kind of a push off to the next year?
We have an online courseware program called Edmentum, and so we are able to provide those students with the opportunity to recover those credits in the summer or during the school year. It just takes a lot longer than with the standards-based credit recovery.
Okay. I love that you're working with the data. I love that you know this off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Oh, this one? Yep. Okay. There you go. Okay. All right, we have another part of our presentation today. So we like to showcase our programs and special services, and this time we're showcasing transition. So we have with us Cynthia Brimhall. She's our special education teacher that teaches in transition, and we also have one of our students, Danny Jorgensen. So we are very happy too to have both of them here today. All right.
So transition, the first thing I did when I thought about presenting to this, most times when people ask me what I do or what I teach and I say transition, they're very confused. Many people aren't familiar with the law. In case you're unfamiliar, IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is where our federal special education law develops from. And that law requires school districts to serve students with disabilities up to 22 years old. IDEA also requires school districts to provide transition services for students with disabilities to help improve their post-school outcomes. So the idea behind the program is students with disabilities will enter the workforce or their adult living with more skills prepared to meet that and have a more successful adult life. And in transition programs, they have specific 3 areas we're supposed to focus on. And we work on working on those skills, but experiencing them as well, the actual real life opportunity in employment, training and education, and independent living. And through transition, students just get to experience more real life. We take a look at everything we're doing, even in our cooking, and we look, Are they really going to make a 7-course meal? Or are they going to be like the rest of us, go home and make a salad and some spaghetti and say, I'm done and go to bed? So we try to focus on more of those real life type things that we're doing. We cook and get out into the community. So a day in transition program is the place to be in school. We start out our morning with work experiences. Most of those work experiences, actually all of them, occur within our district. We have students at Falcon Ridge and Ravenstream in the mornings, helping out with some custodial duties. A few students that work in the RAP program here to learn some childcare type of things. And then we have a few that work on delivering mail, helping with the fitness and aquatic center, things like that here, building work experience skills right off the bat. And then everyone kind of comes back, we have a little bit of a meeting, and my surprisingly most favorite part of the day, which is not typically me, but it has been a very successful thing, we discuss social skills. During social skills, we'll talk about just a wide variety. We'll talk about how to do an interview. We'll talk about how to introduce yourself, how to have a conversation, how to show interest in someone else and not just focus on the things we're interested in. We used the Habitudes program from the high school, which was really neat for our students. And the neatest part of it, though, was we had a lot of students that didn't talk much at the beginning of the year, didn't have friendships. They built them over the year, and would come in with social scenarios that they had experienced in their lives, in their jobs, that were really awkward for them, that they didn't know how to handle, and got to work through that together as a group. So that's what we do. Then we have a rec and leisure program that Renee Hartman runs for us, and our students do some arts and crafts, service. Tuesdays they go swimming at the fitness and aquatic center. We have a day. What else is there? She is very awesome. Yes, she is. Yes. After which we have lunch, and then after that we have students going out to more work experiences. There's many businesses within the community that allow our students to come in and practice some job skills. It might be bussing tables, stocking shelves, greeting people, just a bunch of different opportunities there that they help us with. Some students will stay back and work on some focused time on specific goals. Then we spend some time in the fitness in the center, working on staying healthy and moving. And at the end of the day, we kind of do afternoon jobs. Just like each day at home, there's chores to do. We work through those. Let's see. No, I can just. So for work experience and that, students are just learning. They're receiving instruction on how to do the job. It's not an actual employment, but learning to self-advocate, that I need to complete a job, who to talk to, how to handle those social scenarios. And then examples of specific goals might be things like grooming or self-care, budgeting, meal planning, grocery shopping, cooking, job search and such. So we will get out into the grocery store to plan our meal. We have lunch we prepare together as a class on Friday that we spend the week getting ready for. This year we actually were able to do driver's ed with 3 students who all were able to get their permits. So that was pretty neat as well. A lot of, most of those individuals probably would have never taken the opportunity. So that was pretty cool. Next one, yes, I think is our pictures. So this is just an idea of what we're doing. Most of these are from our classroom. We got to go see a movie, right? That was fun. What movie? Remember what you saw with Mr. Holt?
Headquarters.
Yes. So it's just a great opportunity for students to develop those skills. We do laundry, we cook, those kind of things. It's just a really awesome opportunity. It makes a big difference in these students' lives. What would you say your favorite part of transition is? What's your favorite thing you've done in transition?
Talk to my friends.
And I would say that comes from most of our students and from a population of students that go through school mostly not feeling like they have friends and people to talk to. So that's been really neat to see. You know where you go. Where do you go? Go to school. You come to school, and you get your cards, and you go with Mrs. Holt where? Danny is just a great member of our class, always happy, ready to be everyone's friend. She's always there, and she does a lot of fun, adventurous stuff. So we're glad to have Danny. Get her for one more year. Our next one. So this year this was my first year in the program, so I can't say we've done much over what we've done before, but we're trying to add things. This year we added making plarn mats at St. Wentz with the Catholic Charities there for people experiencing homeless, and that's been a neat experience for students. This year we plan to start a fundraising project, so watch for it, everyone, please. We will be making dog treats and selling those. So we're hoping to raise some money for our program for more opportunities to get out into the community. And always, I think we're kind of a nice hidden secret. We're always looking for new work experiences and volunteer opportunities. So if you know of those, we'd appreciate anyone who is willing to work with us. And those who are looking for an opportunity to be involved, we can always use additional people to come in, eat lunch, provide some of those natural social skill opportunities, practice interviews, those kind of things. Last one. It's just a thank you. We have a lot of people who support our program. This wouldn't be possible without it. So we just shared some of our businesses and the locations throughout the school district and the community that have allowed us to have those opportunities. So.
Questions for us?
I see on there you have donate plastic shopping bags and old crayons. Where would you donate?
So thus far, we are hoping to get some things set up in the schools, in the faculty lounges and stuff. We don't want to collect random stuff, so going to the faculty lounges.
Yeah.
We are hoping to have something here at the district as well, but you can always, community ed is our front desk and that, but we are working on that. But there's a program where we can unwrap crayons and donate them, and they melt them down and use them to make things to raise money for cancer research. So just another opportunity for the students to learn a skill and kind of pay it forward.
You can always contact Cynthia or me too.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
so much.
All right, we'll move on to the open forum portion of the meeting. I just want to read through, as a reminder, just the rules of everything, just because I know I haven't read those for a while. So thank you all for attending. While our comments will be heard this evening, please be advised that the board will not respond to your topic at this meeting. If your comment requires follow-up, the board chair or the administration will get back to you as appropriate, depending on what the question or topic might be. So there are 8 speakers tonight, so that'll mean 3 minutes and 45 seconds allowed to each speaker. Complaints or personal attacks against individual board members or employees in violation of Minnesota Data Privacy Act are not allowed. The chair at any time can determine whether the speaker is outside these guidelines and redirect the speaker. The chair may end comment for anyone not following the guidelines. If the speaker persists after being asked to stop, the chair will ask this person to leave or recess the meeting. Members of the audience are asked to refrain from demonstrations of support or opposition. This does include especially speaking or cheering or any comments during it, at the conclusion of the speaker's comments. Any person or persons in the audience that violate this rule, I will stop the speaker and then we'll give a formal warning to that individual. After the initial warning, if it persists, any further disruption will result in a request to leave the meeting. So with that, we'll call the first speaker up, Angie Frickman.
Thank you, Matt.
Hello, my name is Angie Frickman. I come here as a parent and an educator. First, I wanted to thank the school board members. I really appreciate everything you do and take time to make our schools a better place. Second, I want to welcome Superintendent Andrew Volmuth. Sorry, I didn't say that right. I'm excited for your leadership and your vision for our district. At our last school board meeting, someone mentioned that being a student is hard. I want to echo those words. I think back to your younger years. I would say the recent graduates and current students have new challenges than in the past. Technology and social media have amplified these stresses. With that said, I am not speaking for all staff from our district, but I do feel many would agree with my next statement. As a teacher, I want students to know I am here for you regardless of your viewpoint. We have amazing students with ambitious qualities who must navigate through everyday struggles. I feel privileged to be able to work with all of our unbelievable student body. One point I think every parent in this room and in the district can agree upon is they want their child to be safe, happy, and healthy, as I do with my own children. As an educator, what I want is for all my students to be safe, happy, and healthy in a nurturing educational environment at school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up is Shayna Hawkins. Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Sheena Marie Hawkins. I am a transgender woman. Times are changing. They are changing quite fast. Nobody knows the hardships of what it's like to be a transgender woman in today's society. It is unfathomable, the people that don't understand what people like me go through. I have went through many challenges in my life. I am a child with dyslexia, and yes, I've been mentored by the greatest teachers on this earth. I've had a chance to review the last board meeting, and as well as the documentation that was first drafted in the 1970s. I've heard the voices of the people in the community. I've heard them loud. I've heard words like human dignity, respect, and most importantly, safety. These are the things that I have worked tirelessly to achieve. All people should have the right to be themselves. In today's society, I understand the bar gets risen higher and higher to get the attention of the people out there. I see it every day. I believe that there is the 0.001% of us who have the opportunity to be ourselves and to bring community together, not by our differences, by what we can contribute. As I stated before, human dignity, respect, and safety takes all of us. Fears that I've heard, I hear them loud and clear. Fears that I have about my safety. Those fears can be relieved at this moment. As a transgender person, I'm not here to say everything is rainbows and cupcakes, but I'm here to say that the transgender people that I know just want those three things: human dignity, respect, and safety. I would like to close with a quote by the Dr. Maya Angelou. Words that I live by every day. Do your best work until you know better. And once you know better, do better. Please turn down the flames of this particular subject. Let's work together. Let's build together to make this community the greatest community in the land. I thank you.
Thank you. Ashley Earhart.
My name is Ashley Earhart. I think some of us are being misunderstood. We do not hate our transgender friends. We do not want to discriminate the transgender community. Our fear is not about gender. This is not about male versus female. This is about genitals. This is about keeping penises and vaginas separated. This is about keeping our children safe. Why would we open the doors free willingly to allow access to our little girls? I do not understand how we got to this point. School should be about reading, writing, and math. Our focus should be academics. Our focus should be keeping all the children safe and comfortable, not just in classroom 148, but in all the classrooms, all the bathrooms, all the locker rooms. There has to be a happy medium for everyone to feel safe. Instead of having a male bathroom with 8 stalls and a female bathroom with 8 stalls, can we get 16 individual bathrooms, all labeled male and female? Or have male bathrooms identify as male bathrooms, female bathrooms, and identify as female bathrooms? Or even simpler yet, we could just keep it how it is and have penises in one bathroom and vaginas go into another. We have not discussed the transparent policies to be in place for staff and visiting adults. I challenge the board to retract their decision and actually discuss it for longer than 30 minutes. I challenge everybody on the board to put yourself in our children's shoes. Why would you want this for our children? High school and middle school students cannot vote, get deployed, or get a permanent tattoo. You think elementary students know they are the wrong gender, but they still believe in Santa Claus? The frontal lobe is responsible for planning the future, judgment, decision-making skills, and inhibition. The frontal lobe may not be fully developed until your mid-30s. These children are physically not capable of making these permanent decisions at these young ages. Let them be children. Schools are not a place for children to figure out their sexual orientation or gender identity. This is a place for them to learn to become successful adults who will contribute to society. The policy is not just a problem for our children during school hours. What about at sporting events, plays, concerts, conferences, what have you? It is open to the entire community within all school bathrooms at any time. A child could be sexually assaulted while going to the bathroom at a high school basketball game. We are losing our very own privacy and safety in our bathrooms for ourselves as well as our children. I will repeat what I said last time. The increase in UTIs, the increase in mental health, the increase in physical and sexual assault, the decrease of female athletes, the decrease in student enrollment, and more, it will all come back to hurt this school district. There will be lawsuits, litigations, and repercussions. There has to be ways to be inclusive while not violating everyone's rights. I was a student and I was an athlete. I am telling you that there is no way I would feel comfortable with this policy when I was a student. But now I am speaking to you as a genuinely concerned female and an even more concerned mother of 3 small children. This policy is dangerous, it's scary, and it's inappropriate for our children. We are the parents. I will close with this. Your 7-year-old daughter has her first grade pajama party concert and needs to use the restroom. She walks in, does her job, and as she is walking out, a middle-aged man is walking in. I will let you connect the dots to your story ending however you see fit. But at minimum, this little girl is going to question why a grown man was in the girl's bathroom. Why should we even be explaining this idea to a 7-year-old? By normalizing males in the female bathrooms, we are removing natural intuition for young girls, which could lead to other issues such as enabling or normalizing pedophiles. If you did not get goosebumps or feel uncomfortable or feel like throwing up a single time, I don't think you are here for our children, and we will fully support your resignation.
Thanks. Just a reminder, Mark will give you a 30-second warning just to kind of give you a heads up that time is 30 seconds is left. So, Sarah Westing.
right. First off, I want to say I did not come to the decision lightly to decide to speak tonight. And the reason why is that I'm an employee of the New Prague School District, and that shouldn't matter especially, but it does in a small town. I'm also mother of 2 children who attend school here. This is my 9th year as a special education paraprofessional. I'm also in college full-time for my teaching licensure. I do this job because I love and accept every single student that I come in contact with. They know I am here for them on their good days and their bad days. Parents and coworkers know how much I care for each of my and every student and the passion I have for my job because I sure don't do it for the money. If anyone doesn't know how much paras make, go look it up. You may be shocked. As a school board, I ask that you truly listen to what each speaker is up here saying, even if you don't agree with them. Listen to them. In the classroom, children are taught whole body listening, and I think it needs to be taught here too. For those that don't know what it is, it means using parts of your body that the speaker can see, such as ears, eyes, body, mouth, and hands, as well as those that the speaker cannot see, like the brain and heart. This will show everyone that you are actively listening. I cannot believe the eye rolls and body language I have seen from the board while watching these meetings. Now that I have attention, I'm here to address the transgender or gender nonconforming guidelines that New Prague School District has decided to adopt. I don't see Minnesota State High School League and our district budging on these guidelines. What I also don't see are any plans put in place for this coming school year to accommodate these guidelines. Last meeting it was stated that the district will deal with issues when they arise. At that point, it is too late. A plan needs to be in the handbook and in the budget now, or else these guidelines should not be implemented this school year. So what's the plan? While bathroom or locker room safety and privacy are already an issue, these are places where there still will be problems which include bullying and harassment. Our children need to be protected. Please do not make our children vulnerable or mentally or physically harmed in any way. This policy contains no privacy protections for all students. What can be done to solve this? Has any research been done? Should all current bathrooms and locker rooms be taken down and align as single-stall restrooms and also build single-stall changing facilities for locker rooms? I would much rather a district spend money on educating our children. So why can't Minnesota State High School League fund these plans since it's due to their guidelines these changes need to be made? So what's the plan? I haven't heard much talk on the guidelines regarding overnight lodging for school-sponsored activities. It states that students have the right to accommodations consistent with their gender identity. Now, what about other students that would be sharing that room? Due to data privacy, other students and parents would not be notified if their student would be sharing a room with a transgender student. When they find out, would they have the right to say they would prefer a different room, or is that harassment? So what's the plan? Did you know that students can be suspended if they misgender another student? Yes, it can happen. My son got threatened with suspension when he misgendered another student, a student that he went to school with since elementary school. The student's preferred name and gender identity have changed multiple times through the years. So when mistakes happen, going to authorities and threatening suspension is not the way to address this. My son can't even wear a hat at school, but now other students can decide when they can get a student in trouble for using a wrong pronoun. So what's the plan? I do not hate. I am not a bigot. A person's sexual preference and gender identity is their business. We moved here 10 years ago because of the school district for our children. I really do enjoy working in New Prague School District. I don't want to pull my kids. I don't want to teach my kids at home. I don't want to leave my students. I want to continue to be part of the New Prague School District. School starts in 42 days, so I'm asking, what is the plan?
Thank you. There are more?
Christian schools, co-ops, and homeschooling. Due to grooming, these are the choices some of us parents are left with. You've chosen to implement a transgender guideline that puts our kids at risk. Our Almighty God made 2 genders, male and female. Genesis 1:27. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God tells us we must protect our children. As adults, we have the privilege and responsibility to care for them. We let you educate them, we send them to school, but they are still our kids. God is not a God of confusion. The enemy wants to confuse us, and there is a gender confusion agenda in this world. But guess what? It is okay if we do not want our kids exposed to things that are beyond their understanding. And it is okay if we want you to not fight against the things that we believe. It is okay if we want it is okay if we want you to stick to math and reading and not get into the social stuff and try to experiment with our kids.
I found this on the web.
Sorry.
They are our kids, and they are going to fight, and we are going to fight for them. We love and cherish them more than a government ever will.
There is a hypersexualization of children that's going on. Even Disney jumped on this bandwagon. As a parent of 2 girls, I will always do everything in my power to protect them. This transgender guideline is incredibly vague and dangerous. The enemy wants to muddy up discernment between right and wrong. The enemy wants to muddy up discernment between good and evil. This is perversion and molestation of the minds of our children. How could you even say that the kids face no danger with these new guidelines? You're ignoring the blatant threat to safety this imposes. If we cannot question who enters a bathroom or a locker room, what are we allowed to question? Last time, I had asked for clarification on how you plan to implement these guidelines with visitors and adults, and we have still yet to hear an answer. There are at least 100 plus confirmed children unenrolling from New Prague this year. It's not too late to keep the children safe and to do the right thing. Our kids depend on us to protect them. To the people who think that we are afraid of people with gender dysphoria, we are not. I don't teach my kids to treat them poorly. I don't teach my kids to call them names, and we definitely don't hate them. I'm raising 2 kind girls who love Jesus and love on people. Making a deliberate choice that leads God's children astray will have severe adverse consequences. Matthew 18:6. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Please tell me that I have other options besides pulling my kids from the district. Please tell me you won't push things into our children's minds that they literally cannot comprehend. I have an 8th grader and a 2nd grader. I've done the math, and without inflation, the district will be missing out on approximately $120,000 in funding. I know our words might not be enough for you to change your minds, but I guarantee you the ding in the district's pocketbook will be. Parents are talking, neighbors are talking, churches are talking. Are you aware that churches and businesses are operating up their spaces to co-ops? This issue will be resolved one way or another. Let's see if New Prague has what it takes to take a stand and do what's right for all the kids. Let's let the kids be kids. Shall they desire to make adult decisions, let's wait for them to be adults to make those decisions and have them be fully capable of doing so. Thank you.
Thanks. Laura Call.
Funding has been a big topic of discussion lately. So are your gender guidelines. I voted no to your last request for money. Not once have I heard a board member or district staff member ask why that might be, except for one. Why did the public vote no? I know many of us voted no because it's the only way to make you listen. You have lost our trust. We bring up issues we see and want discussed, but you quickly call the question and sweep them under the rug. I ask you why, and I want a real answer. Not a generic answer, not a circular answer, a real answer. You were voted in and can be voted out just as easily. I will again vote no if you ask for money unless you start to listen. But many of you have already stopped listening. I wholeheartedly disagree with transgender use of bathrooms and locker rooms that coincide with their identity. However, I'm willing to compromise. We should have facilities that are designated by sex and designated by gender. As much as I disagree with this, I will support more funding if you do this. The sad part is I already know your response. 2 of you either have or will roll your eyes. 2 will have stone faces, 1 will tune out, 1 will immediately disagree and find offense. 1 will want to shut me up, call me a liar, conspiracy theorist, or paranoid. 1 of you will actually listen. And 1 will probably comment after, but refuse to let me comment back. This is what we see. This is what we hear. This is why we don't trust you. That is why it will take action and not words to get us to trust you again. In a survey, ask your students, staff, and parents how they feel about the transgender policy. And that doesn't mean a survey like you usually do. The district asks only questions that give the results it wants and avoids feedback on many core issues. You look at your results as being positive, but in reality, your results mean nothing. Because statistically, your surveys are terrible. As a sociologist, and yes, I have a degree in sociology and am a sociologist, your surveys are at the lowest level. If you want excellence, then make a survey that speaks in those tones. I am willing to help you free of charge. You also need your surveys to be anonymous. No one should know what a student, staff member, or parent put down as their answer. If they want you to know, they will make sure you know in their comments. Staff won't speak out because they can't. They fear losing their jobs. This is true about the equity training, dress code, and transgender guidelines. Students at the high school had it made quite clear that they couldn't say what they wanted to unless they were part of a certain community.
30 seconds left.
Their thoughts and feelings don't count. We want to trust you, but can't at this point. The past 3 years have shown that. You are losing students, but are always quick to blame COVID, parents, or the students themselves, and don't truly ask why. Here's a clue. It's your choices, your actions, your words, or lack of any of these. Mr. Volmuth, we have high hopes for you. We look forward to working with you. We hope you will be willing to work with us. We know everything can't be one way or one-sided, so help us find a middle ground that benefits the majority. Accommodations can be made. You know it, I know it, and everyone else knows it. We hope that together we can build We hope that together we can help bridge our divides, not create more.
Thank you. David Tupy.
Didn't think I was going to be up here, but David Tupy, born here in New Prague, went to school here. It's a great community. Let's keep New Prague School District learning our education, in our sports, like we see here, arts, etc. Let's not integrate the bias ideology, or you may not think so, but let's just keep a straight line with the politics in schools. Our community consists of a very high majority of Christian-based faith. Let's not forget this when a small group of individuals from this district are deciding guidelines or a propaganda push from people far out from the New Prague School District. Remember COVID? Yes, we all do. Some here wanted to just go along because people outside of this community thought they knew best for everyone. We all know the results from this. New Prague did things different. We had average, good to average results. Our community is made up of a large majority of blue-collar employers. We need to focus our energy on this in our kids in this community. Our school district, I feel, is failing us in our construction trades and all the classes surrounding the subject. We should not be spending this much time and energy making guidelines to allow boys and girls or girls and boys sports, vice versa, back and forth in bathrooms, locker rooms. Let's just make a safe place for everybody and move on. We all have grown up advocating for women's rights. Yet we now decide it is a good time for our girls to get physically hurt as by transgender girls. Or, hurt in many ways. This board speaks of court settlements, acts, as if these settlements are law. Let's just do some research on one item is the Loudoun County and Virginia schools. Do some research there, and court settlements can be reversed in the opposite of what you think. The federal government does not know New Prague School District kids. Randy Weingarten, the head of Teachers Union, does not know New Prague School District kids. Minnesota legislature does not know New Prague School District kids. The parents do. Good-hearted New Prague School District admin, teachers do. Our community does. A topic I read in the local editor, as a few parents of this community have an issue with these guidelines. I speak with many people in this community.
30 seconds.
And we have lots and lots of community disgusted with this. Let's just leave the transgender to adults. And we are not phobic of any kind, so just stop saying that in your heads. We love everybody. We are okay with everybody. We'll make a truce. With this being said, I'm here to say that I'm okay with any person being who you want to be. Just let's remember about learned behavior. All teachers, admin, praying to God for a better outcome for our kids, your students. You have a lot of support. Speak up, speak out.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Yes? Sorry, Miss Virginia Christensen. No.
I'm way out of my comfort zone here, but my name is Ginger Boyer Christensen. Our family moved here over 30 years ago. One of the reasons we moved here was because we had heard what a wonderful school New Prague was. My 3 boys all attended school here, the youngest from kindergarten all through 12th grade. I now have 4 grandchildren that attend school here. 2 are boys, 2 are girls. 3 of them are high school age, and the youngest is in elementary. My brother, Tony Boyer, was high school principal here at one time. I truly believe that the way the school board and administration is planning to integrate the bathrooms and locker rooms will jeopardize the safety of all students. And I do mean all students. Girls, boys, transgender, etc. I don't care how you choose to live. This policy will hurt all of them. To put this type of pressure on students at the ages of these children is flirting with disaster and is a tragedy waiting to happen. These kids have enough pressure on them in this day and age in school settings. They are not equipped mentally or emotionally to handle the pressure this type of situation will put them in. And if you think a lawsuit like you're afraid of that happens somewhere else, I hate to tell you what will happen if something happens to one of the children in this school because of this policy. I just don't think you even have a clue how it will do, because something will happen. It's almost guaranteed to go wrong. You're going ahead with something that you do not have the money for. You admitted that at the last meeting, that you won't have the funding to make these changes correctly until 2025, I believe is what you said. Biological boys should not be in with biological girls and vice versa. Something needs to be different than that. The safety of our children, not just one gender over the other, but the safety of our children is at stake in what you are doing. I've heard about a lot of people planning on pulling their children. I don't know if the number's 100 or 200, but I've heard a lot of people with the school co-ops and everything, that they're planning on pulling them out. You are looking at a huge loss in state and federal funding if this happens. What will happen then? Our school will become one of the lowest ranking schools around. And do you think that the people of New Prague will forget who made that happen? I don't think they'll forget. I'm 68 and I still remember what it was like when we moved here. I remember just about everything that happened to my kids in school. Good and bad. And believe me, there was both. And I also guarantee they will not forget, and neither will they forgive. If something were to happen to one of my grandchildren because of this, I will be the first to make you all remember me and what happened. I have up until this point been proud to say I'm from New Prague. Right now, I'm not so sure. I'm just hoping that we can I am just hoping that we can come to a conclusion where I can say again that I am proud to be a New Prague resident and a member of this school district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And first and second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. I'd entertain a motion to, for the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
And first and second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. All right, going through committee reports here. Kim, the policy committee, or Jean?
All meeting.
Okay. And Denny's gone, so I'll skip over the next two. Community education,
No,
okay.
not right now.
Legislative committee,
No meeting?
early childhood coalition,
All meeting.
okay. Joint powers, fitness and aquatic center,
Next week.
every other, yeah. And then equity committee, any updates? No? Okay. All right, Mr. Volmuth.
Thank you. I'm going to have one quick edit to the agenda going forward, and it's going to say superintendent's update, to turn my page here, report, good news, gratitude, and update. So I'm going to start with some gratitude. We had our first executive cabinet meeting this morning, and I shared with them in advance an attitude of gratitude. I think it's really important that we think about all the great things that are happening in this school district, and there is a lot of great things happening in the New Prague area schools. So I come with an attitude of gratitude. First, again, I want to thank the board members for selecting me to be the next superintendent. It's been a weird situation to be in, playing principal and superintendent for the last 4 months, so I'm glad to finally be here. I also want to thank Superintendent Dittburner, and I surely hope he's not watching this meeting tonight. Not that it isn't fun and entertaining, but Tim was very, very gracious with his time. And it's very apparent when you get to know him how caring he is, how passionate he is for the New Prague area schools, how much this community means to him. So I want to go on record. And again, I hope he's playing golf or doing something else. But I want to thank Superintendent Dittburner for the time that he spent with me. And our task going forward is to continue to build on the great work that was done during his tenure and beyond, as again, we create that promising future for all. I want to thank the admin team. Again, it's the reason why I was drawn to this position was people and passion, and there are good people in this administrative team. And so we're starting our journey together, and there's still work to be done. There's lots of work to be done, but I think we have a good plan, and we have really good people on board. And finally, I want to thank Janelle. She's put up with me. She did send me to a meeting on Friday morning, early Friday morning, that wasn't even a meeting. I showed up somewhere at 7:30 in Prior Lake to find out that meeting was canceled in July. But she has put up with me in understanding how to use the copy machine, the water dispenser, all those important things that you have to do when you transition. And those are important things as I've gotten settled. But Janelle has been great, and I think we make a really good team, even though we're just getting started. In terms of updates, I'm really pleased to announce, and you just approved this in the consent agenda, that we've selected Mr. Brian Thorsted to be the new principal at New Prague Area High School. I want to thank Nicole Adams for her work, I believe, over the last 5 years. It wasn't the ideal time to find a new principal, but we had a great candidate in Mr. Thorsted, and he is working to create his transition plan. Obviously, his hire means that we have a vacancy at the high school again, so we're in the process of securing a assistant principal. And also I want to acknowledge the good work of our athletic director, Brad Scoterbo. I sent to the board in one of my communications a couple weeks ago, really 2022-2023 in New Prague should be defined as the championship season. 8 state tournaments, several state championships, the baseball team, gymnastics before that, several individual performances, I think 4 wrestlers who were state champions, and so the list goes on and on, 10 teams finishing in the top 3 of the section. I don't know of a school district around that had that kind of success on the athletic field over the last school year, and so I want to celebrate all the work of our student athletes, our coaches, and Brad Scoterbo for his work, who was also recognized as the 2023 Activities Director of the Year. So lots of really good things happening in New Prague. I'm excited to be here and excited to continue to build upon this proud tradition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. We have Sandy up here to go through or facilitate go through a financial projection here regarding our financial picture.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is a fairly short presentation, just try to give a high-level overview of where we're at financially, and just have, if the board desires, to have some initial conversation about an operating levy. So let me just begin. Of course, the most important item in financial planning is enrollment. And enrollment has, since COVID, has been very difficult to predict. This year, our enrollment was much lower than we thought it was going to be, as well as we lost a lot of high school ADMs to online classes. So what I did was I started with the enrollment projections from the demographic study that Dennis presented in February, I believe. And in looking at that, already in 23-24, where we're at right now, we would come in lower than that. So what I did was, first of all, I adjusted the 22-23 actual year-end ADMs, and that included the ADM loss at the high school, which is about the equivalent of 20 students. So I made those adjustments going forward, kind of slowly declining. I know that we're working on getting our own online classes, and the legislative landscape changed with how we can get those courses approved. We don't have to be an online, approved online provider. We can do individual classes, so Sean is working hard on that. I adjusted their projections for elementary and carried those down through the cohorts. Cohorts K is down by 10 or more. It kind of fluctuates, of course, every day. But I had projected 272, and right now we're at 260. And that, of course, carries, through the next 5 years. And I also, like I said, adjusted for the future high school online ADM loss, assuming that will continue in some fashion into the future. So this is hopefully a chart that is easy to understand. First of all, the demographic, the top line, the blue is the original with development. If you remember he did basically based just on cohort, and then he added in development potential. And the bottom line, the orange line, the orange line is the original without development, and the blue line was with development. So you can see there's a pretty big spread, especially going up to 27, 28. it's a lot of students and a lot of revenue. So then what I did was I adjusted, for the previous slide, I adjusted their projections based on those lower enrollment for kindergarten as well as the online enrollment at the high school. And that line is the gray line. So that's just basically looking at the adjusted average between the top and the bottom, okay? And then I did a blend of 75% cohort and 25% development. So I weighted a little bit heavier on the just the cohort, but knowing that we do have some development going on in our district. So I came up with that yellow line, and that is the method that I chose to use. So you can see, we are going to be going down. It really follows what Dennis had presented, but it's toward the lower side. It's very important to be conservative in enrollment projections, and obviously, you can tell me if you don't like that methodology. I'd be happy to look at a different one, but I really do think this is a conservative, realistic projection. Any questions on the enrollment projections first?
I guess the only question I have is on the high school side, so the ADM's there. So are we scratching the hybrid model now, or are we going to all online, or what's the plan?
I think we'll have some of both. Tony, do you know what?
Yeah,
Okay. And 20 was the loss at the very end of, like, the
The whole
total,
year.
the total thing. Okay. So hopefully that number is conservative,
Hoping
but
it'll
yeah.
go down.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, when we did our $3.1 million in budget adjustments, we had approximately $850,000 that were one-time adjustments that we know we have to reinstate in fiscal year 24-25. We also have to begin buying school buses again. We've delayed it, off and on for the last several years. And so we'll all have to, we buy 3 buses a year, 2 from operating capital and 1 from the general fund. This will result in an increase to the fiscal year 24-25 expenses of almost $1 million before we even add our normal expense increases. That's, when you make one-time adjustments, they do come back. Now, we could decide not to bring them back, of course. That's a decision that we'll talk about. But this is, I'm talking a base plan. So this is kind of everything as a kind of standard operating procedure. So the base financial projections, we know a lot about our funding going forward. The enrollment projections, of course, are just projections. And, we have an idea of what our expenses are going to increase, but you never know for sure. But these are big picture numbers. So with our current enrollment projections and no additional operating levy, our revenue increases an average of 1.6% over the next 4 years. That's because of lower enrollment mainly. The special ed increase this year, then it won't increase for another 3 years. 24-25 expenses will increase over 5% in 24-25 because of those one-time budget cuts, and then an average of 3.6% over the following 3 years. And this again is the base plan. So this is if we make no changes to what we're doing, which obviously we would not do if, if this actually happened. So just in big picture, I could show lots of charts and graphs and, do all these scenarios, but this is just a kind of high level picture. We'd have deficits of $1 million beginning in 24-25, and then that would grow each year up to a total of $6.5 million in 26-27. Now, obviously, we'd be adjusting along the way. If this enrollment happened and we didn't have any operating levy, we'd be making adjustments along the way. So we wouldn't cut $6.5 million in 26-27, but over the 3 to 4 years, that's what we would have to cut. And just for context, every $100 increase in operating levy generates about $450,000 in revenue. That puts it in context.
So clarification, the 6.5 million, that's not the deficit in 26-27. That's the cumulative.
That would be the deficit if we didn't make any
Okay,
adjustments
so in
along the way.
26-27, we did nothing, we'd be
Right.
running a deficit of 6.5 million.
Right.
Okay.
Just that year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
although-
that
Okay,
1 year,
that's what
yeah.
you're asking.
But obviously, we'd be making,
Yeah.
cuts
Right,
along the
no,
way, so
yep.
it wouldn't be that big in that year.
Okay.
Then I just want to talk briefly about the operating levy extension that the board approved in June. Just want to do some clarification on that. The 246.70 operating levy extension was done in June, and that was to renew the existing levy approved by voters 6 years ago. Okay? And the legislature decided that because most levy renewal elections pass, they gave us a one-time opportunity to renew without voter approval, because elections are expensive for districts. As, you know, they cost about $20,000, if we were to do a special election. So it's a lot of expense and a lot of time, so the legislature's offered that we would be able to do that. That levy provides approximately $1.1 million in revenue annually. And really, the board, in making that decision, you basically said that you wanted to secure this funding into the future. So I want to be very clear, because this can get confusing, but if this levy lapsed or didn't continue, property taxes would have gone down. But they wouldn't increase from where we're at today. And that's approximately $10.30 a month on a $325,000 home. That's about what that levy costs. In the future, if we go to a levy, the district will be very transparent and include the renewal by board action in any levy increase communications. We can't put it on the ballot because the ballot language is specified by statute, and we can't put it on the ballot, but we can put it in, you know, we'd have no intention of hiding that. The November 2022 levy questions were to increase the 246.70 and or add a technology levy. Neither question was just to maintain the 246.70. So really, voters rejected an increase, not the renewal of our current levy. Any questions on that? So now, levy information. I've been preparing tax impacts for various levy increases. We've already got several done. Mr. Volmuth is talked, I think, to the board members about doing a survey to provide important information on community support. That will be finalized early this week, and information would be available August 1st, I believe. And that will give us some, a gauge of how our community would support, if they would support anything. Do you want to say anything more about that, Andy?
Yeah, I think you did a nice job of summarizing. I think one of the things that as I was creating my entry plan in and knowing that the referendum was an option, I was thinking about if and when we were to go for a referendum, and my job, I believe, is to give you the best advice we possibly can with regards to the reasons why we would want to go for a referendum and then what that dollar figure would be. So in talking to lots of school districts around and kind of mirroring my own past experiences, I think it's important to get a really detailed survey from all stakeholders about what the tolerance is within the community for such a referendum, if that's what you choose to do. The timeline would be very tight, right? We would need to make a decision. We should have these results by around August 1st. I think we have a study session on the 14th. We would probably need to do something in advance. I think we decided today the day is the 25th.
25th.
So we would
Which is a
have to
Friday.
make a decision before the August 28th meeting. But we're making plans, if that's what you choose to do, that we would take a very short window to move this forward. And I think the survey will help us understand what the tolerance is within the community, but also sharpen that why. Why are we going to ask for this money, and what are voters looking for? And all voters, not just ones who have that direct connection to the school, but really a community-wide survey. So.
Yes, so this decision needs to be made by August 25th if we decide to go ahead with a levy. I'd work with bond counsel to create the ballot and work with Janelle on everything that we need to print ballots and so forth, and hold that a special election in November. Something else came to mind and it just left me. So it might come back. We'll see. Any questions?
I guess, I don't know. Go ahead. Okay, I was gonna ask more about this survey a little bit that you're talking about, Andy. Just, so you're saying that we would have data already by August 1st, or can you explain a little bit more about this?
So the survey that we hope to have finalized this week, and I'll send it to the board members at the end of this week once it's finalized, so you're aware of it as well, would go out into the field for about 10 days. So approximately, if you think July 20th to the 30th, we're working with the group, the Morris Leatherman Group. They do a lot of this work for school districts and municipalities around. They're not new to this work. They're pretty vetted, and they're very reputable. I think we would get the survey results around August 1st. I don't know if it would be that quick. We would get them to you, and then we would be able to discuss them at our study session on the 14th. I think would be a natural progression, but I think you would have that information before then.
And we use that data then to help us with figuring out exactly how many dollars that we might be able to,
Yeah.
the community would feel.
All of the above. I think you
Okay.
use that data, that really defined data, to say, is this a good move for the school district or not? Is this the right time to go and ask the voters for an increase? And what are those reasons? So what would the dollar amount be if you choose to do that? And then what would the reasons be that voters would support? So there's that level of detail in the survey where they're asking some kind of open-ended questions. Not open-ended, but they're asking a series of questions based on what and then the why behind why this would be a good endeavor for the New Prague area schools.
Is this survey going out to parents or citizens?
So it is a 500 household random sample. There's about 40 questions on the survey. And it's a telephone survey. So it goes to the entire community.
Not just parents?
Not just parents.
Okay.
We did have some internal talks, and I know school districts have done Google surveys to their parents. I felt it was really important for us to get a broad perspective of what the community is thinking. So if you think of, generally speaking, about 20 to 25% of families are actively engaged in public schools. If we sent that survey to them, they're probably going to be pro for a referendum, we would hope. This is going to give us a much broader perspective of what the community in general will say.
Good. Thank you.
If we, so it costs $20,000-ish to do a special election. If we were running this referendum during a normal election, are those costs the same, or are they reduced if there's already ballots and things like that getting printed?
Yeah, they're much lower. So the city and the counties or the townships just bill us for a share of it. And I wish I still had that spreadsheet up. I think last year it was about $5,000, $6,000, around in that. So yeah, it's much reduced.
All right, thanks.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
I guess one thing I was going to just bring up, do you think it'd be a good idea to supplement that data as well with a Google's? I mean, are we over surveying people? I'm just tossing that out there. What do you think? Any comments from anybody else?
These are random phone calls, right?
This is like more of a
Random sample.
scientific.
Yep, this is more of a scientific survey. They're going to look at areas of general perception and atmospherics, possible operating levy, communication, and then demographics. So those are kind of the general themes of where we would go. Matt, I don't think
We'd be duplicating efforts or even not doing, yeah.
Yeah, I think data is always good. I think this is the right data that we need. And again, we have a very short time crunch. Again, if you think of just timing of this, if the early November, I don't know the exact date, this would be something that if we were doing this and we weren't reacting, I wasn't reacting because I'm new to the position, I would have wanted to make a decision on this in June or July, so we had several months to plan for. So I think we could get another survey up, but I don't know if we would have enough time to use the data. I think this is the right data, I do. And so do school districts around. This is really the preferred method of school districts that are pretty successful.
Okay. Any more discussion by the board at all regarding this, or do we want to wait until that data comes in and then discuss it at our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll wait for the data.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sandy. Now we have some action items here. First off, we have the approval of the 23-24 middle school handbook. I would entertain a motion to approve
Wait,
that handbook.
I have just two questions.
Oh,
and I'm
well,
not sure if there's anybody here who can answer this.
Yeah.
In the handbook, it says on their first offense, it says the first report of a comparatively minor incident will be sent to the parents, blah, 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 at the bus stop or on the bus. Serious incidents include smoking at the bus stop, but that was taken out. So are we allowing kids to smoke at the bus stop? I'm just asking. Because it doesn't say anything in there. I thought, well, I'm wondering why it was taken out in the first place.
So I'm new to New Prague.
Yeah.
But I
We
don't
don't like to
believe
smoke
we
at the
are
bus stop.
supporting smoking at the bus stop. Why don't I get a little bit more information
Okay.
about that? Is that
Okay,
fair?
good. Yeah.
I'm guessing they were probably just getting rid of the specific, because there's
That's
going to be
what I
a
was
lot of,
thinking,
there's
too.
probably a lot of things that could be inappropriate at the bus stop, so why call out smoking?
It
I
does say
guess?
alcohol and drugs, so can I assume that tobacco is a drug? Is that what is all encompassing?
I would guess, but let me get some more
Okay.
information for you.
Okay.
If that's okay?
Yeah. The only other question I have is under emergency procedures, this was taken out. If you are in a computer class, go to the media center and hide in the back rooms. That was taken out. So do the people in computer class know where to go now in an emergency?
Is there no
Again-
longer a computer class?
Excuse me?
Is there a
Oh.
computer class still?
Oh.
Technology is not, I don't know.
In one room anymore. I think that's how I.
Okay.
Again, I'm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Has changed, but I mean,
I just felt bad for the kids in the computer lab not knowing where to go.
might be something to just.
Just run.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that in all of our buildings, as is the case in schools across the state, there's evacuation procedures and lockdown procedures that the students and staff are aware of.
Yeah.
So I would guess that that's just cleaning up old language.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
And so for me, in subdivision 1, the grounds for dismissal, one of the things I wanted to point out that, a willful violation of any reasonable school board regulations, such regulations must be clear and definite to provide notice to pupils. One of the things I've been talking about for quite some time, when we look at our dress code that's also included in the standard, when we look at some of the confusion that the parents who spoke at public forum today have about what is, our policies are all very subjective in nature, and they don't have very many objective standards to them. And I think that is a mistake, especially with significantly more strict school discipline regulations that were passed in this last legislative session. And so I'll continue to bring them up, as you guys know I will, as we process through them. Can't help it, but I would say that we could do ourselves a lot of favors by creating objective dress codes, objective standards that provide more notice to what is clearly acceptable and not acceptable behavior.
Any other comments regarding this handbook? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve this handbook as written. Or do we want to?
Well, because Andy has some open action items
Yeah.
on it, and is this something that will ruin our launch of our school year if it waits when we do the high school handbook? I think at our next.
Sandy, does that, I'm going to ask you, so by not approving or tabling one of these tonight, does that, okay. On the boards, yeah. Because we'll have the high school we don't have the high school on here either, so we would have the high school that night as well. I guess what specifically are we holding this up for, before I would want to table this and move this to another meeting?
As long as Matt gets a hold of me about smoking at the bus stop, I'm okay.
Andy.
Andy. Sorry. Andy.
So my actionable item is to get clarity about
Yeah.
smoking at the bus stop and what was taken out, why it was taken out.
Why it was taken out.
Fair.
Okay. All right. So then I'll move to the high school athletics handbook. Any comments, any questions on this document? All right, then I'd entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
And first and second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. Next on the list is the middle school athletics and activities handbook. I would entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
And first and second, any comments, questions? No? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. Next on here is the high school coaches and advisors manual. I'd entertain a motion to approve this as drafted.
So moved. Second.
And first and seconded, any questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 6-0. And then lastly is the resolution for membership of the Minnesota State High School League.
I need a motion and a second to bring that up.
So moved. Second.
Okay, be it resolved that the governing board or entity of the New Prague area schools located in the state of Minnesota delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic activities and athletics referred to in Minnesota Statute Section 128C.01 to the Minnesota State High School League, and so hereby certifies to the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by the Minnesota statutes. This is a roll call vote, I assume. How do you
We're
vote?
gonna open it up for discussion, or after the,
Yeah,
are we
we
still in
can,
motion,
yeah,
I
we can,
think?
yeah,
We can-
once we have a first and second, so go ahead, yeah, before we vote.
Yeah, so what do we pay the Minnesota High School League every year?
I have it right here. I know Sandy sent that to you earlier in the day, Dan. The total would be around $16,000, $15,682. Do you want me to go into detail?
Nope, I'm good with the total amount. One of the concerns I have about the Minnesota High School League is I think they've been a little negligent in resolving some of the issues with sports, and they've been, I would say, doing a bureaucratic dodge on the issue. So, for example, transgender issues in sports, they've passed a policy giving them the ultimate authority to adjudicate what is and is not allowed, but they haven't given any guidelines except state law, which give guidelines that says there's criteria that you can establish for males and women's sports and things like that. And I think if we continue to send them money without sending them expectations, so I think we need to send them letters of saying these are our expectations, that we would expect you guys to set criteria for the items that you guys are controlling and have the ultimate authority on. Minnesota law, for example, allows discrimination in sports on the basis of sex to protect a sex that has traditionally had fewer sporting opportunities, right, which would be females and such. And so since Minnesota law is covering all of that, our expectation would be get Minnesota High School League to interpret that law, set the standards in advance, rather than requiring every district to set their own standards and then having them swat them down on appeal on the background.
I have no problem with that. I think they should get on the ball and make some decisions up there for us all. I mean, we need to participate in it for sure, but I think they need to start to make some decisions as well. It shouldn't be on us to make all the decisions, should it?
Right.
I don't disagree, but are you suggesting that we don't pass this resolution to be a member?
So I would pass the resolution this year, but I would do it as a board with the expectation we send a letter putting the Minnesota High School League on notice that we expect them to address these issues transparently and openly and allow the districts to participate in that, rather than leaving it a free-for-all with them just adjudicating at the end whatever they want. And then if they aren't willing to participate in that, I think as we go to future years, we shouldn't continue blindly giving them our support if they're unwilling to support us and address especially the women's sports issues in the state of Minnesota in a clear and consistent way statewide.
So if they don't address the issues that you're speaking of, you're thinking that perhaps we wouldn't be a part of that in future years?
Yeah, so I think rural districts especially, and with the next steps you'd take, is I think competition always breeds more opportunities. And so I think other districts should start forming a new league, and when a certain critical mass of districts join it, it would become active. That's how I would handle it, to put pressure on the state high school league to actually address our concerns rather than just swatting us away because they're a monopoly and they don't think we will ever do anything.
Maybe I didn't understand. So if they don't do what you would want the board to ask them to do, you would be in favor of not being a member of the Minnesota State High School League?
Yep,
Is
I
that
think
true?
we should start seeking an alternative. Yep, and that's going to have to be
Still doesn't
developed
answer my
from-
question, though. Would you be in favor of not being a member?
I would
Like,
develop
not-
an alternative first. And so I would seek an alternative, try to form a new coalition with a new alternative,
Mhm.
but I would not drop the Minnesota High School League in its current configuration as things current sit without trying to work with them and give them some opportunities to,
Okay.
to recognize some of the needs that are coming up in the brave new world we're in.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, I think we're ready for the roll call vote then.
Yeah, we'll start with Karen.
Just to
Wait.
clarify, so I kind of know how to vote.
Yeah.
So do I understand that we're in agreement that we will do that through our athletics department or something like that, and develop that type of request, or is it it's a maybe we will, maybe we won't type thing? Just before I issue my vote, and I know it's not binding. I'm all for gentlemen agreements.
Is that a Brad issue? I mean, would that be taken to Brad, or
I
would
would
that
be,
be taken
I guess
to?
I would be willing to work with Brad on that to
Right.
see what we can do. You know, obviously we're just one voice and amongst the many other districts, but I hear what you're saying when it comes to like, it takes one, then there takes 10, it takes 50, you know, so I hear you.
It might be a good job for our legislative committee to go out and recruit in other districts, eh?
So yeah, so I mean, I guess I
Yeah.
wouldn't be against speaking with Brad and working with administration to at least see what that
That's the way I would do
involves.
it too. Brad knows a lot of people, so I would assume, knowing Brad, that it's kind of on his radar to have better answers anyway, because he's not a guy that likes doing things that don't have clear-cut answers. But
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
that's the way I see it.
So to clarify, if I may.
Yep.
The working with Brad to decide what can be done is what you would be agreeing to do, right?
Yes.
And we're all looking for more clarity from the high school league with regards to their actionable items.
Mhm.
Is that
Yep.
fair?
Yep, I think that's fair.
So,
Okay.
So is that a Matt reaching out, or is that an Andy reaching out to Brad?
I guess I would ask Andy to handle that.
I'm just asking.
Welcome,
Sign
Andy,
them to a
welcome.
big contract. That can be on Andy's
well,
agenda.
I will say that I can have a discussion. I'll probably want to follow up and,
Oh, yeah. Right.
and summarize it. I don't know what will come of it, but I can tell you that I will have the discussion and get a little bit of context as to what else is taking place. So more to come. Fair?
Yeah,
enough.
like at the School Board Association in January, there were whispers of this already at that time, so there's got to be a lot of people. By this time, there's got to be a lot more schools looking for better answers, I would sure think. Anyway, so are we ready to vote
Yep,
then?
I'm ready then.
All right, how do you vote, Karen?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Mark, yes. Vote 6-0.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
First and second, those in favor signify by saying